Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Midweek Manchester is Red podcast. My name is Seb Parkinson once again, but this week I'm with a different guest. There's a reason for it. Tyrone is away, but Manchester United are playing Leeds United in a pre-season friendly over in Oslo, where Manchester United and Leeds United both have huge fan bases. Now, this game was arranged when Leeds were in the Premier League, and it was expected that United were going to play Premier League opposition, but Leeds got relegated. So I am now delighted to be joined by my colleague Conor, who is our Manchester City correspondent, but some of you might not know, he is a massive Leeds United fan. So Conor, thanks for joining me. First and foremost, tell me all about Daniel Farke and what he's going to bring to Leeds United.
Yeah, remember way over to the dark side here, Seb, so thanks for the invite. But yeah, Daniel Farke, what's he going to bring to Leeds United? He's going to bring an attacking style of football. His Norwich side won the division twice at a canter, the two championship titles at a canter, and they were absolutely fantastic. They faced Marcelo Bielsa's side in the first season, completely blitzed us in the home leg. Leeds did them over in the first leg, but it was a real title charge and three teams. The championship was of excellent quality then. It was Leeds, Sheffield United and Norwich, and it was a real decent quality, and Daniel Farke brought a lot to that. But he'll bring an attacking intensity, he'll bring a very drilled methodology as well, something quite similar to a Marcelo Bielsa outfit, but also very different, maybe a little bit more of a focus on defensive awareness.
Yeah, well, United are United's 26-man squad has headed out for the game, and our Man United writers have predicted the lineup. So I'm just going to read out the 5 writers that we've got predictions from, and I want to hear whether you, Conor, would be in fear of them or whether you think Leeds will get a good test. Obviously, Leeds have been in pre-season training a bit longer than United, so we're not expecting a 7-0 or whatever, or a 7-all. We're expecting a pretty low-scoring affair, I think it's fair to say. But with that in mind, Samuel Luckhurst, and in fact, all 5 of our writers have picked Tom Heaton in goal for the simple reason that United don't have a goalkeeper. Dean Henderson is wanting away and coming back from injury, so probably not ready. Tom Heaton is the only real first teamer available, and David De Gea left on Saturday, as everybody knows. So Samuel Luckhurst has gone for Fernandes at left back, not Bruno Fernandes, by the way, a different Fernandes for anybody listening. He's gone for quite strong. He's gone for Martinez and Varane at the back with Wan-Bissaka on the right, Fred and Mainu in the midfield, Mason Mount coming in to sort of attacking midfield in the number 10, Medjugorje on the left, Ahmad through the middle, and Sancho on the right. Now, most of the guys have sort of gone for a similar look, 4-3-3. So Ty Marshall, again, Heaton in goal, Fernandes left back, Fish alongside Varane at the back with Wan-Bissaka, Fred, Mainu and Mount in the midfield, Ahmad, Hugill and Sancho up top. And again, very similar, Rich Fay, who's gone for Williams at left back, Varane and Bennett at the back, Wan-Bissaka at right back, Fred, Hannibal and Mount with Ahmad, Hugill and Sancho. Steven Railston has gone for Fernandes, Varane, Bennett, Wan-Bissaka, Fred, Mainu, Mount, Sancho, Hugill and Ahmad. And lastly, George Smith has gone for Fernandes, Bennett, Varane, Wan-Bissaka, Mainu, Mount, Fred, Sancho, Hugill and Ahmad. Now, Hugill has sort of made 4 of the 5 teams there. One of United's sort of stars, shining stars of the under-21s. Looking at that team, especially when Leeds are going to be looking at taking some players probably on loan, for the Championship, what do you reckon that team will pose a threat against you, and how do you think Leeds will perform against it?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Amad Diallo. There's been a couple of links between Leeds and him, which I think would be an outrageous signing. Obviously, he was excellent at Sunderland last season. I'd take him on loan in a heartbeat. But it seems like a very strong team, Seb, an exceptionally strong team if the writers are to be proved correct. Once again, a strong back line, Varane and Martinez are playing together. If they're able to build some sort of cohesive unit up, leading up to the season, then it's only going to benefit Manchester United, of course. I think how Leeds can essentially combat it is going to be difficult because it's a very new manager. Obviously Erik ten Hag's philosophy and ethos has been embedded now within this Manchester United side, which saw a massive rise in their in their performances last season. Leeds have only really had Daniel Farke for the best part of 10 to 14 days. So once again, it's going to be brand new. The return of Dan James should be interesting. Obviously, Leeds played Manchester United in Australia about 3 years ago in a pre-season friendly, lost 4-0, and Dan James absolutely tore us apart. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there was maybe some inexperience at fullbacks, if Dan James is to start, if his pace can worry a few of them at a bit of the Man United back line. But I think Leeds are going to go fairly strong as well. But I guess it's that Championship and Premier League difference now, Seb, whereas maybe last season, obviously when you're in the same division, there is still a massive quality gulf, but now it's very, very different as well. And Leeds have struggled at this moment in time with 25 days left until the Championship season starts, 6th of August. Leeds still haven't brought any bodies in whatsoever. So you're relying on an existing cohort. Sinisterra has travelled, which is positive, who's Leeds' star man. Somerville, who's excellent toward the back end of last season, is there. Rodrigo has actually left Leeds United today. Patrick Bamford will be there. So I think there'll be a lot of experience there. But in my opinion, I think facing up against Man United and Mason Mount loves playing against Leeds. We have a long-running rivalry with Mason Mount and Frank Lampard from the Derby days, and he loves to score against Leeds and perform against Leeds. So I'm expecting that. He'll have said to Erik ten Hag, put me in for this game, and I'll show you what I can do against this lot. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one, to be honest.
Setting his standards against Championship opposition is the takeaway from there. How do you think Leeds are going to do this season? Do you think they're going to come straight back up? I mean, as a United fan myself, that rivalry. I live sort of between Manchester and Leeds myself, so it's only 40 minutes to Leeds, and it's probably the same distance to Old Trafford, really. So, United home and away against Leeds is always a bit of a tasty one, despite the traffic. I mean, the traffic around that stadium at Ellen Road is horrendous. Whoever deals with the traffic management there needs probably replacing. Because I tell you what, whenever Leeds play at home, and I'm going off tangent here, but whenever Leeds play at home, the traffic around that stadium, if I'm visiting family who live up that way, you might as well just wait till tomorrow. It is absolutely just disgraceful is the only word I can use to describe it. But
going down the M62 and M60 as well, when you go past Brighouse and Wakefield, it's always chock-a-blocked. It's an absolute nightmare. Yeah, Leeds it needs a lot of roadworks there, I think, to be honest, in and around the stadium.
Well, they're currently ongoing. Last time I was up there, it was down to one lane, and it was all traffic management here, traffic management there. I actually got a speeding ticket because it had been reduced to 50 and I didn't realise. And went through the camera. So anyway, that's a different story. Connor, what do you reckon? What do you reckon Leeds are going to do this season?
It's going to be a struggle, Seb, because we once again, Southampton and Leicester have had a head start. Leeds are still pending takeover approval by the EFL. It took us a while to get Daniel Farke in because of that process. Previous owner Andrea Radrizzani has moved on from the club and actually taken Sampdoria over, but still, because the EFL haven't given us the green light, he technically owns the club, which is a little bit of a nightmare, and the technicalities are getting in the way a little bit. But I think we've started a little bit behind Southampton and Leicester in terms of player recruitment and directors and managers being in for a select period of time. So I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Leeds at this moment in time, because I feel like we're playing catch up a little bit. However, we know how quickly football can turn, Seb. The transfer window does end in September. Leeds have got a good start to the season. So I think how it's going to pan out is Leeds are going to have a very slow start, mid-table-ish, and I think we're going to then make a late push and probably end up in the top 6. But I think, personally, your top 2 to go up are going to be Southampton and Leicester in whatever order. I think they've just got the cards in order a little bit earlier, and they're making some good acquisitions. So yeah, Leeds maybe in the top 6, but yeah, I can see this being maybe a 2-year project.
A lot of people say, don't they, that the Championship is the hardest league in world football to get out of. And looking at teams that have come up from League One who think, oh yeah, we're going to give it a go in the Championship, seeing the teams that have come down from the Premier League and the strength in that division, I think 90% and probably higher than 90% of the teams are former Premier League sides in there. And, it's almost like a Premier League 2 these days in the Championship. But no, thank you for that, Connor. Just moving on back to United, because I know this is a Manchester United podcast. A lot of people will be wondering why our writers have chosen Tom Heaton specifically. It's simply because Dean Henderson hasn't travelled. The 3 United goalkeepers are Heaton, Bishop and Kovar, who we don't expect to see feature really throughout the whole tour, especially as the first team has come back in. But a piece that Tyrone Marshall's written, an opinion piece, Connor, that you might have an opinion on here, is you were talking about Ahmad on loan, but this piece by Ty Marshall, which went out this morning, it's basically, it might shoot down your idea, unfortunately, of Ahmad coming to Leeds on loan, which is Ahmad could solve Man United's transfer demand with a new role against Leeds today. And it's basically suggesting that Ahmad could become that centre-forward that United need. Now, United are desperate for at least one mainline centre-forward, with a second one ideal, given the fact that Anthony Martial is, as has been said on this podcast before, made of plastic or made of glass or made of something that, doesn't tolerate any sort of resistance. So, what do you think about Ahmad? I mean, do you think he could be the saving grace to United centre forward, and as disappointed as that would be for a Leeds fan to say?
Yeah, I mean, he's never played there, has he? I don't think. I think he's played in the 10 before. I think he's played left and right. So that should be interesting. Whether or not, he's going to be dropping deep and potentially playing like a little bit of a Harry Kane role where, then Rashford profits and is able to rotate and, Ahmad drops back and is able to link play a little bit that way. And that could benefit Sancho in the long run as well. That could be a way to go. I don't see him being an out-and-out centre-forward, whatever that is nowadays, a classic number 9. But someone who can rotate across that front three, I think that would be a good shout. But I don't think for Sunderland, from memory, obviously when he had his most, fantastic season last season, I think he scored 17 goals, got multiple assists. He's not played there, so could this be, if I'm to throw a Pep Guardiola-ism into this, is this where maybe Ten Hag tinkers with one of the youngsters and is able to sort of develop him into a new player? And what a piece of sort of coaching that would be from Erik Ten Hag, a youngster, and to mould him into this Manchester United side. He's got bags of potential. He's very athletic, for a small lad as well. Excellent balance, great on his left, great on his right. His vision in the game is very, very good as well. So yeah, I think overall playing him in that position, I don't know, it's something he's not done before, but if Erik Ten Hag is to work his magic and, as I say, take a Pep Guardiola-ism and mould him into that, then that's only going to be beneficial for Man United.
And just on the striker front, there's a piece in the Manchester Evening News today from George Hodgson, which is talking about how United could capitalise on the idea that Harry Kane goes to Bayern Munich. Now, obviously, Daniel Levy is reportedly holding out for £100 million for Harry Kane, with having 2 bids rejected from Bayern Munich already. But the story sort of suggests that Bayern Munich need to sell before they can buy, and selling is a player that Manchester United are very interested in, which is Gravenberch, allegedly be valued at 34 million. Now, if United do want to sign him and Bayern do want to sign Harry Kane, it could be that United negotiate a lower fee for the midfielder. He's only young, he's got a lot to prove, but again, he's a Dutchman. He's worked with Ten Hag in the past, and we've seen what's happened with players that have worked with Erik Ten Hag in the past. So, where do you think Man United are going to finish this season, and what are their strengths and weaknesses?
I think the problem is for Man United, Seb, is I think it's other teams' development. You've seen Liverpool bring in Szoboszlai. You've seen Liverpool bring in McAllister as well, which is almost like renovating that aging midfield. They're looking at Lavia as well. We've seen what Arsenal are doing at the minute in terms of bringing in Declan Rice. Havertz, who could, under an actual coach like Mikel Arteta, could be excellent, really. I think the fear now for Manchester United is other teams are building, and the foundation that Erik Ten Hag has built so far has been excellent. And even as a Leeds fan, you can't deny that, and a Manchester City report, you can't deny it. But overall, I think there is a little bit of a risk that Man United in this summer transfer window, because of the takeover and all this sort of stuff in the background, could be left a little bit. And yeah, the Mason Mount deal was interesting, wasn't it? Obviously, it came in for 60 million quid. Obviously, it looks like Ten Hag might be going to 2/8, which would benefit, Bruno as well, because I don't think you can do one or the other. But yeah, I think there's a lot of signings needed for Man United to just, bring the team up to par, really, because as I say, I think maybe a couple of youngsters in there, quality youngsters. A striker's been needed at Man United for so long now. And I think Ahmad, relying on him might be a little bit naive. But yeah, overall, I think it could be maybe a third or fourth place finish for Man United. I mean, would you take that, Seb, this season? Would you take a third or fourth place finish?
United finished, third last season? Liverpool sort of nearly caught up Newcastle, I think, in the end, didn't they? They nearly took over at the last minute. Considering how poor Liverpool were for the start of the season and throughout the season, they just sort of got gradually better. And it got to a point where it felt like nobody wanted to finish third. United and Newcastle both just sort of couldn't cement that place until sort of right at the end of the season. But look, United have got Champions League this season, which is something we didn't have last season. So if you say to me, we finished last season with the trophy and got top four, which was probably the aim. We got to the FA Cup final. Can we repeat that, but in the Champions League? Can we finish with a trophy and a quarterfinals? I think would be realistic for the Champions League, and anything beyond there, I'd be delighted with. But again, I'm talking here as a fan. United have been so dilapidated in the last 10 years. We had that second finish under Mourinho where it was. He basically said that was his greatest achievement in football, was like coming second with that Man United side after everything that had gone on, and given how the club's been run and the transfers and the contracts that have been handed out, it's nice to see that United have got a bit more stability again. And I'm 32 years of age. I've grown up with Sir Alex Ferguson. I've been spoiled rotten with trophies every season. I actually can't remember United going a season without a trophy. There may have been one in there where we finished second or third or something and didn't win a trophy. But for the most part, United have won a trophy every season, at least one. Many trips to Wembley. But to see United going through this sort of transition period and all this turbulence and all these changes, and since Alex Ferguson left, it was bizarre because I'm of a generation where I'd only ever seen one manager manage my football club, and that manager held everything with a tight grip. We knew that no matter what went wrong, Alex Ferguson would turn it around, and he always did. Jose Mourinho came in and won 2 Premier League titles on the bounce. So Alex Ferguson said, "All right, then I'll win 3." And he went and won 3 on the bounce, in the Champions League to boot. So seeing Erik ten Hag come in and those 2 defeats at the beginning of the season, Brighton, and then that demolition against Brentford was disappointing. And it was a bit of a, oh God, is this guy any good? But do you know what? He kept such a stone faced in front of the media and in front of the fans. I completely buy into what Erik ten Hag is, and if Erik ten Hag says a player from the conference is a player that's going to succeed at Man United, I absolutely trust that that's going to be the case, given how he has been and given the fact that he's took us from, again, pretty poor place when Solskjaer left the club to Rangnick not really resolving that. He came in, he made firm with what he wanted to do with Cristiano Ronaldo. He's spent a lot of money, but the players he brought in feel like players that benefit the club's system and benefit his system, rather than just, like the Angel Di Maria signing. It was great to see us United spending that sort of money, but he didn't fit the system at the time. And as proved, he left a year or so later. And then, Zlatan came in. That was an incredible signing, but then he got injured. So that was a bit of a damp squib in the end, which really disappointed me because I love Zlatan. As a fan, he was a player that I'd love to see at United, and I wish we'd have got him 3 or 4 years younger. But no, it just feels that Erik ten Hag, he knows what he wants, he knows who he wants. And again, Malacia coming in is probably the weakest of the signings he's brought in. But what he did was he gave Luke Shaw the motivation to get fitter, get better. And, once Luke Shaw came in, Luke Shaw wasn't replaced other than when he was having a rest or he got a bit of a knock or whatever. So, having a manager come in who knows what he wants out of his players, and, when a player underperforms, he drops them. I remember when Anthony did that sort of bit of skill, which he was criticised for massively on social media. Erik ten Hag defended him in his press conference, but then Anthony was dropped for the next game. Whether that was in correlation to that or whether that was just a footballing decision, is to be believed by whoever's listening to it. But, he's come in, he's stabilised the ship. We've won a trophy, got to the FA Cup final, finished third in the Premier League. What more could we have asked for at the beginning of the season with a new manager, given how turbulent the season had been before then? So, again, as a fan, really happy.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's definitely the upward trajectory. As I say, I think Ten Hag's doing very, very good things. I think it just has to be matched off the pitch, doesn't it? And when it's matched off the pitch, then it's going to be a concoction of good things for Man United, I think. regrettably.
I think the takeover thing that's been going on now for 8 or so months has taken a bit of the attention away from what's going on in the transfer market, which I guess helps Ten Hag and hinders him in equal measure. The fact that he doesn't, he might know who he can and can't bring in and what he can and can't spend. The budget talk is around 120 million, with half of that being gone on Mason Mount this season. But with the fact that you mentioned Man United and it's on a back page, that's always been the case throughout my lifetime, that there's never a day where Man United are in the news. City won the treble, yet the talk the following week was all about Manchester United once again. So it is what it is. Man United will always be in the news. We will always have things to talk about with Man United. But before we sign this off, Conor, one thing that has just popped into my newsfeed and something that I really want to end on a nice positive with is the fact that Edwin van der Sar's condition has been confirmed to be not life-threatening. That comes after the reports of Edwin van der Sar, former Manchester United legend goalkeeper, suffered a brain hemorrhage last week. So it's really good to see that he's hopefully going to make a full recovery. It's not life-threatening, so hopefully he'll be back kicking around sooner rather than later. But Conor, thank you for joining me. Rich Fay is out in Oslo right now, so he will have all the latest news from Manchester United versus Leeds. And, of course, we're going to have loads more content coming for you as Manchester United embark on their pre-season tour, first to Edinburgh and then over to the United States of America. Terrible accent, but there we go. Anyway, thanks for joining me, Conor, and thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We're on every single platform imaginable, and Conor's wincing because it means that he's got more work to do with all these different social media platforms that are coming out. The Manchester Evening News will be front and centre of everything that's going on Manchester United, and we will be there. You will be there with us. We will see you again very soon.